I'm captaining Haaland and I'm all but locked on my final wildcard team. Welcome to the Gianni YouTube show. Hope you guys are well and you're looking forward to Gameweek 6. I know a lot of you are on wildcard. Good luck with that. If you fancy hitting that like button nice and early and you want to subscribe to the channel, please do. This is my final wildcard team selection. So look, without further ado, let's present what I showed you on Wednesday. This was the team I was going with. And look, I'm really happy and 90% set on this team, but let's go through it and go through one or two tweaks. This is going to be 3 tweaks to this team. Now, of course, before we start, we have to mention David Raya in goal, okay? The elephant in the room is David Raya, and that's why today I'm presenting a Team 1 and a Team 2, because if David Raya isn't fit, then Team 2 looks a little bit different with no Raya, because of course you're saving money. So that's definitely a conversation to be had. But first, let's look at this team I presented on Wednesday with Raya, with Fabianski. Happy there, if he's fit, very happy. I'm happy on Trent and Gabriel and Rico Lewis. I'm going to, however, swap out Van der Berg for Ipswich's Greaves. Now, the reason being, these are the 2 standout 4 million options for me. You could look at a Coley of Leicester or a Bednarek of Southampton. But Greaves for Ipswich, we just know is a 90-minute man. Ipswich at home have some good fixtures. And unlike Van der Berg, he's absolutely nailed, right? So Greaves makes this Team 1. Slight swap there, 4 million defender for 4 million defender. And then as we go through in midfield, Saka and Burmo, Rodgers and Semenyo, they're all staying. But I'm going to take, this is with such a heavy heart out, guys. I'm going to take Savio out. And I'm so hot on Savio, but I can't ignore Luis Díaz not playing for Liverpool in the week and then still scoring 5 and looking so good in attack. Luis Díaz has more points than Mo Salah this season. He's on 5 Premier League goals. Wolves have got injury problems at the back with the Mosquera injury. And Luis Díaz, it just feels like he's there for the taking in the next couple of weeks. So I can afford Luis Díaz if I downgrade Evanilson. So Evanilson on my front line is also going to come down to a Stewart. Now, I liked Evanilson very much. But Evanilson is going to spend a lot of time on the bench. You can't play 8 attackers. And when I look at my front 8, he would be the one that drops out. And if he's going to be on the bench, why not just have a 4.5 fodder there? Now, if I have 4.5 fodder, I then can make him my 3rd sub. And a lot of the time, I'll have, say, an Aina as my first sub, who I'm perfectly happy with. So Stewart at 4.5 million enables Luis Díaz. So when we look at this Team 1, we've made 3 changes from Wednesday. I've got 0.0 in the bank, and I'm fairly happy with it. Let's go through then and see who is absolutely locked in my wildcard. This isn't going to be a Team 1, Team 2 conversation. This is going to be, right now, who is locked. So, of course, we're going to talk goalkeepers in a bit. So the goalkeepers aren't locked. Only because we don't know about Raya's fitness. We will know about Raya's fitness, I think, before the deadline, because we're fortunate that Arsenal play in a 3 o'clock kickoff. And with that in mind, we should get a team leak before the deadline, 4 hours before. So look, Trent, Gabriel, Lewis and Greaves, I'm locking them all in. Whether I go with a Raya team or a non-Raya team, these 4 defenders are absolutely locked. The midfield 5, I think they're absolutely locked as well. Okay? So we're going to lock the midfield 5 in, whether I go with Raya or no Raya. And then up front, Haaland and Watkins feel pretty locked to me as well. So we're going to lock those guys in. So the only players and positions that aren't locked are the goalkeepers, the 4th or 5th defender, the Aina spot, and then the forward spot. Because if I don't go with Raya, I've got a few scenarios that I could go with. So look, we're looking now at Team 1, all but locked. Right? I hope this is the team I go with. This is the team I would like to go with. This is the team that needs, however, Raya to be fit. Okay? If I go with Team 2, well, that's no Raya. So I'm not looking at a 4.5 goalkeeper instead. Because one thing this season has shown us is the 4.5s are not reliable enough as a set and forget option. I genuinely think it's worth finding the extra $500,000 to have a rotating pair of goalkeepers. So if we can rotate and have 2 4.5 goalkeepers, which ones do we go with? Well, let's pop Flecken and Mats Sells in goal. Now, they're both 4.5 million. They both have good fixtures. Sells in particular plays for a very good defence because I think Forest's underlying data is very good and Nuno has a history of keeping clean sheets. We remember that from Wolves and Spurs. Flecken's Brentford, not a history of clean sheets, but good save points. And we know Brentford are conceding a lot of shots from distance this season, which is more comfortable saves. Therefore, Flecken has higher chance of those save points. If he's even conceding, he might still clock a 3 or a 4-pointer, as we've seen already this season. So Flecken and Sells rotate nicely. And when we look at that rotating pair, we can see I've highlighted in yellow who you could go with. I could go, look, to be frank, game week 6, that could be very easily Flecken in goal instead of Sells. They've both got a similar fixture difficulty this week. And then from game week 7, it'd be Flecken. Game week 8, Sells. Game week 9, Flecken. Game week 10, Sells. It rotates quite nicely. A lot of good home fixtures in there in yellow. So if Raya is out, I think these are the 2 keepers I'm going to go with. Let's move on from keepers, though, and move to our defensive issues. Guys, before we do, though, if you fancy hitting that like and subscribe button, that'd be appreciated. But also, do check out the OneFootball app. I know many of you have told me that thanks to this advert on this YouTube channel that you have now downloaded the OneFootball app and you absolutely love it. It's the best football app going. Whether you want to follow Premier League news or a different league's news, it's all there. The scores, the data. It's a brilliant, brilliant app, and it's right on my home screen on my mobile phone. There's a link in the description to download it. It's free, it's quick, and if you follow the link, it really helps me out as well. So let's move on to that Team 2 defensive issue now. If I go with these two goalkeepers, I'm only going to have, I think, double Arsenal, because I can't just squeeze Saliba in. Remember, Saliba is more expensive than a Raya. So I can't take an Aina out and go up to Saliba. If I do, there's major surgery elsewhere. And I've already got that 4.5 million 8th attacker in Stewart. So what we're going to do is we're going to take Aina down to a Fass, for example. He's 4.1 million at Leicester. I could go to Vandenberg at 4 million, but I think the extra 0.1, I quite like Leicester's fixtures. Again, some good home fixtures. So Fass at 4.1, he then becomes my defender 4 or 5. It does make the defence quite light. I'm relying on Rico Lewis starting a lot of games. The midfield is unchanged. And then instead of Stewart, I get a good sub 1. So Stewart's a sub 3. The forward spot then goes to sub 1 and I get Ndai. Now Ndai is a 5.4 million forward. He is playing wide for Everton, not second striker. So he's almost an out of position bit in reverse, which isn't great. But he's 5.4 million. He's Everton's one of their best players, and he's nailed. Everton have good fixtures, and Ndai's got some pedigree. We know from the Championship he's amazing at Sheffield United. And he's a much better option than Stewart if you can afford it. Now, don't get me wrong, I'd love to be able to afford Dominic Calvert-Lewin for an extra 0.6, but I just don't have those funds. Okay, so Ndai goes to sub 1, and when then Semenyo doesn't play, I have Ndai coming in because Semenyo's got 2 good games and then some bad ones. So this is Team 2. Now, Team 2 is far from locked. Like, Team 2 could have some late changes. I could get a change of heart and somehow squeeze in a Savio. I could get a change of heart and somehow squeeze in a Martinelli for a short-term punt. Remember, this Team 2 only has double Arsenal. Do I think I'll get to double Arsenal defence without Raya? No, because I think that's too much money. And I think I've got too much else going on that I want to do. And therefore, I'll lose out because Arsenal will keep clean sheets in the next couple. But don't forget, from like game week 9, they've got tricky fixtures. 6, 7 and 8 are good. And then 9, 10, 11 are tricky for Arsenal. So I think I'm okay with no Saliba. And I might have to go differential and go, look, I can get to double Arsenal attack. Do I squeeze a Havertz in instead of a Watkins? Do I get a Martinelli in? This is going to be a really late thing based on the Raya team use. This is going to be a Saturday morning call. So Team 2 I'm far from set on. I do, however, think I'm set on those goalkeepers, Flecken and Fass. There is another player I would love. Let's go back to Team 1. The team that I presented on Wednesday is pretty much this team. But it had Savio in it. And I still really want Savio, but maybe I just give him an extra couple of weeks and then Luis Díaz goes to Savio and I spend the money elsewhere. I just feel with Luis Díaz, the fact he didn't get any minutes for Liverpool in the week, it's like, yeah, you're a key cog. He was on the bench, didn't get on. I'm like, Slot really rates you. You're his key man. And look, Gakpo played really well from the left-hand side, and he did in Milan when Gakpo played, but Luis Díaz, absolutely, is currently first choice. And I just cannot refuse him. When I look at the rest of my team in terms of locked players that we went through, because look, let's again just make sure those lock buttons are shown. The only players that aren't locked, the goalkeepers, Aina, and look, in Team 1, if I go with Team 1, then all these players are locked. This is a Team 1. But because I could still go to Team 2, Aina, Stewart, and the goalkeepers, of course, could change. The other players that I guess have got some talking points this game week, if you want to know more from any of these players, I've spoken about them all in depth on Wednesday's show, and I've showed supporting graphics for all of them, whether it's defensive data or pass maps or heat maps. So go check out my Wednesday show if you want more on these players. But the top line summary is the likes of Watkins, I'm really hot on. Semenyo for 2 weeks. Rodgers is the best, for me, budget midfielder. And Burmo and Saka are just a must-have if you're on wildcard. Rico Lewis is absolutely worth the punt. Trent is like first name on my team sheet. Gabriel is so obvious. I think Greaves is better than Vandenberg. With hindsight, I've changed my mind on that. And in terms of captaincy this week, I'm going Haaland because, well, Newcastle have been the 15th worst defence in the league by expected data. I was on the scout members area earlier. The 15th worst for expected goals conceded this season is Newcastle. That's how bad they've been. Now, Newcastle have had good fixtures. Pre-season, for the first 5-6 game weeks, Newcastle were second in the fixture ticker. Yet they've still got the 15th worst expected goals conceded. Haaland's going to have fun, isn't he? Now, sure, Saka has the best fixture. I'm pretty set on Haaland here, and I think that's where I'm going. So guys, thank you so much for watching. If you've enjoyed the show, hit the buttons on the way out. Do like, do subscribe. I will reveal my team on Saturday morning on Instagram, so make sure you're following me on Instagram. Unfortunately, I can't do a deadline stream. I've got my daughter, just the two of us. Mum's away for the weekend, so it's going to be, no time to do any streams. I'm sorry, I've still not done a deadline stream this season. Game week 7, however, I'm hoping can be my debut this season for a deadline stream. I am, however, streaming every Sunday morning, if you fancy that, debriefing on all the Saturday action. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.